Today was supposed to be the 6th time Joanna would meet my parents, but once again, she didn't show up. My parents and I waited at the restaurant for over 4 hours. I tried calling her again and again, but she never picked up. Just when I was about to try one last time, I saw a tweet from Charles, Joanna's childhood friend. He had tagged a location at a suburban hotel with a photo that made my heart sink. The caption read, "We're going to walk from 18 to 80. In the photo, a woman's bare, pale back was shown, her shoulder marked with a vivid red spider lily tattoo. One of our mutual friends even commented, "First love couples are unbeatable." I didn't say anything. I just liked the post and commented, "Be sure to be buried together when you die. Don't come back to ruin people in your next life." Right after our food was served, Joanna finally called. I didn't hesitate, hung up. A second later, her message came through. "Can you stop being so paranoid? Charles and I grew up together, so what if we'll be together till we're 80? People like you who think dirty things all the time just see the world that way." She sent another, "Charles had some issues, and I came to help. It suddenly started raining. He's not well, and I was worried. I booked a room so he could rest while we waited out the storm." More messages followed, but not once did she mention the dinner she had promised to attend with me and my parents. I stopped reading them. All I could feel was guilt for dragging my parents out for nothing. I looked across the table at them, and my heart ached. They were getting older. They had flown all the way here just to meet Joanna. And she hadn't shown up once, not even once. I knew they were disappointed, but they never said anything harsh. Still, I could tell. I sighed and said, "I'm sorry, Mom. Dad, I made you come all this way for nothing." My mom looked at me with quiet concern. My dad kept his tone gentle. "We won't interfere in young people's matters. You decide. What you want? We just came to see you?" That made my eyes sting. In the 5 years Joanna and I had been together, she had never visited my parents with me, not once. She was a well-known lawyer and always said her time was too precious, that she charged by the minute. But whenever Charles called, she would cross half the city for him. She always found time to travel with him. Love and indifference are easy to tell apart. I just didn't want to face it. Sometimes, letting go only takes a single moment. That night, after dropping my parents off at their hotel, I got home around 11 p.m. Joanna was on the couch, frowning. The moment I walked in, she snapped, "You're back so late? Where were you? You didn't answer my calls or texts?" I let her finish before calmly asking, "Do you remember what today was supposed to be?" She looked confused. "What? Just work, right? Or, wait." Then she paused. "Sorry, did your parents leave already?" "I swear I'll remember next time." I stayed calm. No need. Then I walked straight into the bedroom, showered, turned off the lights, and lay down to sleep. Joanna came in a bit later. She had showered too and was wearing a black spaghetti-strap nightgown. She lay beside me and wrapped her arm around my waist. She whispered, "Darling, I'm sorry. I really was wrong this time. Charles had an accident. He called me and I panicked. I forgot everything else." When I didn't respond, she forced me to turn toward her. In the moonlight, I saw the red flower tattoo on her shoulder, the same one from Charles's post, and I felt sick. I stared at her and asked, "What's wrong? Didn't Charles feed you well?" Joanna sat up, furious. "Jeremy, are you serious? Haven't I explained? Haven't I apologized? What more do you want from me? I was even planning to take tomorrow off, to spend time with your parents." Her tone was full of irritation, not remorse. I looked at her, calm and steady. "Joanna, don't force yourself anymore. Let's break up." Then I picked up a pillow and walked out too. "Sleep in the guest room." She didn't follow. A few seconds later, I heard the door slam. The next morning, just as I was about to ask for leave to take my parents out, my mom texted me, "We're heading back now. Focus on work and visit us when you can." Startled, I called her immediately. "Mom, why are you leaving so soon?" I answered gently. "Your dad's in a hurry to get home. He wants to go fishing with your uncle." Then she added, "Okay, I have to go. Talk to you later." As the call disconnected, guilt swelled. In my chest, my workplace was barely an hour's flight from home, but for years, I had been so wrapped up in Joanna that I hardly ever went back, and now I was realizing just how much I had already lost. Suddenly, a thought flashed through my mind, and without wasting a second, I got up and went to find my manager at the office. Manager Song. I want to transfer to the Guangzhou branch. He looked surprised by my sudden change of heart. Why the interest now? I offered it to you before and you always turned it down. If you go, the branch project manager position is yours. I scratched the back of my head and said, I've thought it through. There's nothing more important than making money. Manager Song gave a satisfied smile and handed me a form to fill out. As I left his office, my phone rang. It was Joanna. The moment I picked up, her voice came through, anxious and accusing. Jeremy, why didn't you wake me up? Why didn't you make breakfast? I have an important client meeting today. Hearing her entitled tone, I couldn't help but let out a bitter laugh. Joanna, I'm not your maid. It's not my job to cater to your every demand. She shot back, Jeremy. I didn't let her finish. I hung up. For 5 years, I had treated her like royalty. I cooked, cleaned, even laid out her shower clothes. But over time, she started to see all of it as something she deserved. The moment I stopped doing it, I became the villain. Honestly, I was relieved I had gotten up early and made the decision to move on. Once I decided to let Joanna go, my productivity at work skyrocketed. Tasks that used to eat up an entire day were now done in half the time. After work, I stepped outside and noticed it was raining. Just then, Joanna called again. You're off work, right? I didn't bring my car today. Come pick me and Charles up. That bossy tone and the fact she said Charles made me feel sick. How low did I have to sink to even consider picking up the two of them on a rainy day? I'm not available, I replied flatly and hung up. I took a cab home. Once I was home, I ordered spicy hot pot, a dish I hadn't had in ages. I loved it, but Joanna always said it was greasy and beneath her. She refused to eat it and wouldn't let me have it either. But that same day, I saw a post on Charles's WeChat. Joanna was with him, dressed in a sleek black suit, sitting by the roadside, eating hot pot. The very dish she'd always looked down on. Turns out her preferences weren't about taste. They were about the person. I was never the exception. I sat there enjoying my hot pot with a cold beer in hand. That's when Joanna came home soaked from the rain, with Charles right behind her. The moment she saw me, relaxed, warm, and content. While the two of them looked like drowned rats, her temper exploded. Jeremy, so this is your definition of no time? What, do you think missing one dinner with your parents is the end of the world? Are they never going to be around again? Do you really have to be so dramatic? I didn't want to argue, but her words kept getting uglier and more ridiculous. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I stood up and smashed the beer bottle to the floor. That's enough, Joanna. You're going too far. Shards of glass flew everywhere. Some of it hit Charles. Joanna's face twisted with rage. She shoved me hard and I fell to the ground. Ugh, I groaned, feeling a sharp pain shoot through my hand. Blood was already pooling in my palm. I couldn't even tell how many cuts I had. For a moment, Joanna looked flustered and came rushing over to check on me. But as she leaned in, I caught a strong whiff of Charles's cologne in that moment. I could picture her touching him, holding him, maybe even wearing this scent after being wrapped around him. Disgusted, I shoved her away. My eyes dropped to her neckhand. There it was. Faint red marks. Joanna followed my gaze and instinctively covered her neck. The office has so many mosquitoes these days, she said quickly. You know how sensitive my skin is. Charles, standing behind her, smirked and added, Yeah, Miss Joanna's skin's really delicate in this relationship. Charles had gotten Joanna's real love. All I got was betrayal after betrayal. Stop making a scene, she muttered. I'll take you to the hospital. She looked at my bloody hand with forced concern, but her grip showed no kindness. She grabbed my injured hand and yanked me off the floor. She kept playing the role of the caring girlfriend. But everything felt like a performance. I shook her off. No need, I said coldly. At this rate, if you keep dragging me, I'll bleed out before we even get there. Only then did she realize she had grabbed the hand that was injured. But even then, she snapped, Why do you always talk like that? Can't you say things normally instead of being so sarcastic? I didn't respond. I didn't have the energy to fight anymore. I quietly sat down to put on my shoes, planning to go to the hospital alone, but Joanna wasn't going to let me off that easily. She insisted on dragging me all the way to the car. When we got there, Charles had already taken the passenger seat and was looking at me with that same smug, challenging look. I get car sick, so I need to sit up front. You don't mind, right, Jeremy? I didn't even respond. Just opened the back door and got in without a word. As we drove to the hospital, I couldn't help but glance around the car, and what I saw irritated me. Framed photo of the two of them stuck in front of the dashboard. A pair of men's basketball. Shoes tossed in the back. Man's jacket slung over the seat. I remembered when Joanna and I had just started dating. I'd left a little figurine in her car. Nothing flashy, just something small. The next day she threw it out and said she had OCD, that she couldn't stand anyone else's stuff cluttering her space. Guess her OCD had exceptions. Turns out her so-called rules were just double standards. The problem was never the object. It was who it belonged to at the hospital. It's after the doctor had treated and bandaged my wounds. It was already 2 a.m. I walked around the waiting area but couldn't find Joanna anywhere. I didn't even bother calling her at first. I just stepped outside into the rain trying to hail a cab. But it was the middle of the night and no car stopped. After waiting an hour in the cold, I gave in and called her. Charles answered. After a short, disinterested hello, I heard him pass the phone to Joanna. He chuckled and said, "I'm gonna take a shower. Hurry up." Joanna walked a little further away before finally speaking. "What is it? I didn't waste time. I'm outside the hospital. Can't get a cab. Can you come pick me up?"
Shit.
Paused like she had just remembered she was the one who brought me here. "Wait there. I'll be there in 5 minutes." But 5 minutes passed, then 10, then 20, still no sign of her. I laughed softly, bitterly. Of course, I thought, why would this time be any different? I tried for a cab again this time. By some miracle, one stopped. When I got home and finally sat down, Joanna walked in right after me, soaked from the rain. The first thing out of her mouth wasn't concern. It was attitude. "Why didn't you wait for me?" she demanded. "I'm hungry. Make me something to eat. Make more seafood porridge. Charles wants some twile. Take it to him in a bit." She paused and frowned. "Hey, are you deaf?" Oh, I had been up all night, still soaked and completely drained of patience. "Are you insane?" I snapped. "We've already broken up, and you're still bossing me around like this." She froze. "What did you say?" "Day broke up. Yesterday. Did you forget already?"
Ow.
Joanna stared at me like I'd lost my mind. Then she suddenly burst out laughing, as if I'd just told the funniest joke in the world. Her eyes even teared up. "Jeremy, am I hearing this right? You want to break up with me?" she said, still laughing. "You'll beg me to take you back in a few hours, maybe even sooner?" I give it less than 24. I looked at her, calm and steady. I wasn't surprised. I'd tried to leave before. Every time Charles came up, I'd get fed up and threaten to break things off. But within a few hours, I'd always find myself crawling back, apologizing, begging for forgiveness so she didn't take me seriously. This time, she just walked into the bedroom and slammed the door shut behind her. I sat on the couch, took out my phone, and started searching for short-term rentals near the company. Earlier that day, Manager Song had told me the transfer order would arrive tomorrow, but the actual move to Guangzhou would take a month. Since the branch still needed to issue the final notice, I had assumed it would be fast. Now I knew I'd be stuck in the city a little longer. As I looked through listings, I started thinking about what I'd need to pack. Since moving in with Joanna, I'd treated this place like home, added things, built memories. But now that it was over, most of it didn't matter. In the end, I decided to only take what was mine, just the essentials. I wouldn't be here much longer anyway. I scheduled a viewing with a realtor for later in the afternoon and went to the guest room to get some rest. When I woke up and stepped out, Joanna was standing there, staring at me with an unreadable expression. I didn't say anything. just glanced at the time and went to wash up suddenly. She threw the cup she'd been holding straight to the floor. The sharp sound of porcelain shattering made me stop in my tracks. I turned to look at the pieces on the floor, then smiled faintly. It was the first ceramic cup I'd ever made. Back when I got obsessed with pottery, I had given it to her. She had laughed for ages back then, teasing me that it was so ugly. It had to be one of a kind, and I had said to her seriously, just like my love for you, one of a kind. Now that the cup was broken, it felt like the final sign my relationship with Joanna needed to end too. I didn't care about the shattered pieces on the floor. After finishing up, I quietly put on my shoes and walked out the door. Joanna sat silently in the living room, staring at my back as I left, still looking dazed. That afternoon, I toured a few apartments and quickly found the right one, fully furnished, 1-bedroom unit, just 5 minutes from my office. The apartment we used to live in was never about MIT, was chosen because it was closer to Joanna's workplace. Even when there was no traffic, my own commute took at least 30 minutes. Back then, I didn't mind. I just wanted to give. I never imagined things would end up like this. I paid the rent and deposit on the spot, planning to move in that very night. The idea of freedom, of peace, was already calling to me. When I returned home, Joanna wasn't there. I packed all my things into one large suitcase, just the essentials. Then I left. By the time I had unpacked and settled into my new place, it was already evening. I was tired, but strangely, I felt happy. Calm, content kind of happiness. But that feeling didn't last. My phone rang. It was Joanna. I glanced at the time and already had a guess what she wanted, probably for me to make her some hangover tea or draw her a hot bath, like I always used to. But this time, that wasn't going to happen. I answered. Her voice came. Through? Startled, Jeremy? You moved out? That surprised me. She was home already? Maybe she'd had a bad night. Maybe things hadn't gone her way. She waited a second, then called my name again, this time with a hint of panic in her voice. Or maybe I just imagined that part. Yeah, I said. We broke up. Doesn't make sense to live together anymore. She snapped back. Did? I agreed to break up? Come back right now. Where are you? I'll pick you up. There's no need, Joanna. I'm serious this time. Her voice wavered for a second, then turned sharp. Fine. Fine. Jeremy, don't come crawling back to me later. You'll regret this. Then she hung up. Regret? The only thing I regretted was not leaving sooner. Now, I could eat durian whenever I wanted. Or stinky tofu. I didn't have to care what anyone thought. I didn't have to plan 3 meals a day around someone else's preferences. I could finally use my time for myself, for growth, because I'd realized something. I had been falling. Behind at work, stagnating, and for what? So I signed up for an online course that very night. The first week after leaving Joanna was the most peaceful I'd had in years. I felt free, fulfilled. But just when I thought it was all behind me, I got a call from one of Joanna's friends. Joanna's drunk, she said. She keeps yelling for you to come pick her up. I was stunned. You've got the wrong number, I said calmly. You should call Charles. If you don't have his number, I'll send it to you. The line went quiet. Her friend seemed taken aback, unsure what to say. You two were together so long, she finally said. Don't blow things up over one bad night. You'll regret it. I yawned. Anything else? I asked. If not, I'm hanging up. I ended the call, and then, from the other end of the building, I could hear Joanna yelling. Again, the sound triggered something in me. A memory. It was from when Charles had just come back from studying abroad. Back then, Joanna would go out drinking with her friends nearly every night. I couldn't sleep, always worried something would happen to her. One night I finally called her. Asked if she needed me to pick her up. She scoffed. What would you even come for, she said, to embarrass me. You can't even drink. You wouldn't last. After that, I never offered again. I thought about it for a moment longer, but it all felt so pointless. I turned off the lights and went to sleep. The next morning, I woke up to dozens of missed calls and unread messages. All from Joanna. One read, Jeremy, come back tomorrow. and we can pretend none of this happened. Another said, "Who do you think you are? Refusing to come pick me up? Playing hard to get now?" And then this one, "You're not even worth a finger of Charles. If you two hadn't been fighting for the same scholarship abroad, I'd have never looked your way." I froze. So that was it. The question that had haunted me for years finally had an answer. Back in my senior year, Joanna had suddenly added me on WeChat and asked if I wanted to be together. I hadn't understood why, but I said yes immediately. Everyone knew I'd liked her since sophomore year. It was no secret. People called it a storybook romance. When we started dating, she told me she didn't believe in long-distance relationships. And like a fool in love, I gave up my chance to study overseas, despite how hard I'd worked for it. Even my professor was furious, but I didn't care. I swore I was chasing happiness. Looking back now, Joanna had always been lukewarm with me, distant at the time. I thought that was just her being cool. I had no idea that her so-called coolness would one day cause me so much pain. After graduation, I gave up a great job offer in my hometown just to stay here with Joanna. I genuinely believed we'd be that couple who went from school uniforms to wedding gowns. But life had other plans. I got slapped in the face by reality. I remember asking her so many times why she suddenly decided to be with me back then. Every time her answer was the same: "Because you're a fool." At first I thought she was just teasing me. I took it as some kind of endearing joke. But over time, I realized it was never a compliment. It was the plain, painful truth. I really was a fool. Still, I don't regret the sacrifices I made for her. I loved her with everything I had, wholeheartedly, without holding back. Thinking about it now, I let out a bitter smile and shook my head. For Charles, Joanna was willing to give up everything, even herself. Just then my phone rang. It was her. I hesitated, but I still picked up. Her voice on the other end was weak. "Jeremy, my stomach hurts. It really hurts. Come back and give me a massage. I want sweet porridge. If you're not here, no one will make hangover soup for me." I cut her off, losing patience. "Joanna, I'm not your nanny. If your stomach hurts, go see a doctor. If you want soup, make it yourself. I'm not so desperate as to give you another chance to hurt my especially now that I finally know the truth. Let's end this. We don't need to stay in touch anymore." I hung up. Then I got out of bed and rushed to get ready for work. I was almost late, and I didn't want to lose my attendance bonus. Honestly, nothing good ever comes from dealing with Joanna. But thankfully, I snapped out of it in time. Since I was preparing to transfer to another branch, I spent my entire morning sorting out handover documents. It wasn't until lunch that I finally had time to check my phone. I hadn't even opened her previous texts yet when a new message popped up. It was a photo of her lunch. Right after that came a line: "The rice is so hard. It's not as good as when you made it." I didn't respond. I scrolled up hand there. It was just 3 words: "I'm sorry." That surprised me. Joanna had always been proud. She never admitted when she was wrong. Even if she messed up, she'd always find a way to twist it and make it seem like I was the problem. There was a time, after all her emotional manipulation, when I truly believed I wasn't good enough. I started thinking I was lucky that she even stayed with me. I lost myself in that relationship. It wasn't until my mom noticed something was off and flew in to check on me that I realized how far I'd fallen. She comforted me, helped me see clearly, and I finally crawled out of the mess Joanna had made of my life. There's no way I'd let myself fall into that hole again. Later that evening, when work ended, I was surprised to see Joanna waiting at the entrance of my office. I froze for a second, then quietly walked around her, pretending not to see. I just wanted to pick up some groceries and head home, but Joanna called my name and ran after me. "Jeremy, I'm here to take you home." I could feel my coworkers' eyes on us, so I stopped and turned. "Joanna, what do you want? We've already broken up." She looked hurt. "I don't agree to break up. Come back with me." I stared at her, confused. "I'm not even a threat to Charles anymore. What's left for you to gain from me?" Her face went pale. "No, Jeremy, that was just drunken nonsense. Yes, I got together with you because of Charles, but after being with you, I realized I've fallen for you. Before she could say more, her phone rang. Charles' ringtone. She hesitated for a moment. Just a few seconds, but that was all I needed. The moment she answered, I turned and walked away. It didn't matter where we were or what the situation was. Charles would always be her first choice. I should have understood that a long time ago. In the days that followed, Joanna didn't show up again. I finished my handover work, applied for leave, and finally took a trip I had postponed for far too long. It was the same trip I had planned. With Joanna, after graduation Beijing, back then, I had done everything. Booked flights, reserved hotels, made an itinerary. But the night before our flight, Joanna told me a friend had an emergency and she had to fly abroad instead. That plan was shelved, until now. This time I went on my own. Once I arrived and settled in, I spent my first day visiting local spots. I woke up early to see the flag-raising ceremony at Tiananmen. Squirren even tried Dowsy, that strong-smelling fermented mung bean drink. For once, I wasn't thinking about anyone else, just me. And honestly, it felt good. Honestly, I couldn't even drink it. The Dowsy just wasn't for me. But I still went on, saw the snow-covered Forbidden City, walked the Great Wall in winter, wandered through the Summer Palace, and strolled the Shikahai area right at dusk. On the last day of the trip, I organized all my photos and posted a tweet. I finally said a proper goodbye to my youth. When I got back to Shanghai, I started packing up. I was preparing to move out. That's when the doorbell rang. I opened. Attended was Joanna. She looked tired, paler than before. No makeup. Her hair wasn't done, and not a trace of lipstick. I stared at her, confused. What do you want? I asked. Joanna's voice was firm. Jeremy, I'm here to take you home. I rolled my eyes. If that's all, you can leave now. I started to close the door, but she pressed her hand against it, stopping me. Annoyed, I nudged the door harder. What exactly do you want? I know I was wrong, she said softly. Give me another chance. I love you. Let's make it up. To you. If you don't like Charles, I'll stay away from him. Is that okay? She looked at me like she was about to cry. But I just laughed, cold and bitter. Joanna, do you even hear yourself? You say you love me, but you've been hurting me for years. Don't you see how absurd this is? She didn't move, just stared at me, like she couldn't believe I meant what I was saying. If you don't leave, I warned, I'll call. Security still, she didn't budge. We're done, I said. Is this fun for you clinging like this? I slammed the door shut, ignoring her hand. She pulled it back just in time. I sat on the couch afterward, staring at the wall. Behavior why was she so desperate to get me back? That whole speech about realizing she truly loved MIT didn't feel real. I sighed. It didn't matter. I wasn't falling for it again. Just then, my childhood friend texted me that he had arrived.
Ow.
I got dressed quickly and went out to meet him. The day after I came back from Beijing, Ryan, my best friend since we were kids, had called. He asked what my tweet meant. I told him the whole story. Without hesitation, he said he'd come to Shanghai for drinks. I didn't think he'd show up the same day. We picked a popular hot pot place. After a few drinks, I headed to the restroom. On my way back, I heard a voice, one I knew all too well. If it weren't for Charles being interested in the software I designed, Joanna was saying I wouldn't have had to beg Jeremy. Someone replied, Miss Joanna, you've been wronged. With that software, I can get into Shungu easily. I'll meet him Saturday, and then you. The rest was too quiet to catch. That software was mine. I started building it in my second year after graduation and only recently finished it, so... Saturday. Interesting. Wanted to see exactly what they were planning. Saturday morning, Joanna appeared at my door again. She said, even though there's no future between us, I want to spend one last day with you. I stared at her coldly. I hated how fake she sounded. But I let her in because I had my own plan. She begged for nearly an hour, and once I agreed, I noticed the flicker of smugness in her eyes. She thought she had me right where she wanted. After we left, I got a message on my phone. One glance, and I smiled. She'd taken the bait that day. She took me to all the old places from when we first started dating. I watched her carefully. If I saw even a shred of guilt in her eyes, maybe I would have let her go. But no. There was nothing. In the afternoon, her phone buzzed. She didn't even check it. "Jeremy, thanks for spending the day with me," she said. "The law firm called. I have to head back." She left without waiting for my reply. I didn't need to ask. Was Charles letting her know it worked? I finished my coffee slowly, then went home. 2 days later, a brand new software launched. The so-called designer, Charles. People praised him like he was some genius. He even landed a job as the development department manager at Shenggu. I watched his interview on social media, expressionless. Then I laughed. "Coldly, Charles, enjoy your moment, because your downfall starts now." I didn't warn him. I didn't even text. I went straight to court and filed a lawsuit. I created a personal account and posted the legal complaint. No one followed me. So I bought traffic to boost it. And just like that, the genius Charles was at the center of a plagiarism scandal. Some people believed me. Some questioned it, but the spark had already been lit. I wasn't scared. I revealed the developer signature embedded in the software and posted a screen recording of Charles using my computer that day, since I'd been active in multiple software development forums. A lot of people in the industry already recognized my alias. That made things blow up quickly. Charles was publicly shamed as a thief and ended up too afraid to even leave his house. I was cracking open a beer at home, celebrating quietly, when Joanna called. Her voice was tense. "Jeremy, please," she said. "Can you issue a statement? Saying we've resolved things privately? He hasn't stepped outside in days? If this keeps going, something bad might happen." I scoffed. A rat crawling through the gutter should have thought twice before showing its face. "Did you even consider the consequences when you both decided to steal from me?" Joanna was quiet for a few seconds. Then she asked, "You knew about all this? Then why did you go along with me?" She sounded shaken. "And now you still won't. Let it go. What do you think you'll gain if something happens to him? Look, I admit it, stealing your software was my fault. Just tell me what you want. I'll make it right." As soon as she said that, I exhaled. Grateful I'd started recording the moment her call came through. Every word she said was now solid evidence. I didn't bother replying. I hung up. When she realized I wasn't backing down, Joanna panicked. She started buying traffic and paying trolls to twist the story online, trying to paint Charles as innocent. But a thief is still a thief. No matter how much you try to bury the truth, facts don't change. As netizens dug deeper, Charles's social media accounts were exposed. He had shared tons of personal posts about his relationship with Joanna, photos from hotels, selfies at home, even things from when he was studying abroad. His followers, once supportive, turned on him overnight. The comment section turned into a battlefield. In desperation, Joanna flipped the script and accused me of being the third party in their relationship. That's when I struck back. I posted a clear timeline of our relationship, screenshots of the drunken message she had sent me, and the recording from her last phone call. Everything exploded. Charles's reputation collapsed, and Joanna was dragged down with him. People branded her a manipulative liar. Her job as a lawyer was suspended. Even her past cases started being re-examined, and then a shocking detail came to light. On the day Joanna and I had dinner with our families for the 6th time, Charles had been pushed down a flight of stairs. Joanna was the lawyer representing him in that case. There were no surveillance cameras nearby, and she used her years of experience to sue the victim for 150,000 yuan. But during the fallout, someone released a video taken by a bystander that day. It clearly showed Charles starting the fight. He had tried to push the other person down the stairs, but instead lost his balance and fell himself. With that, Joanna was caught in an even bigger storm. She was bombarded with online hate. Eventually, her law license was revoked. After the dust settled, I packed my things and moved to Guangzhou for work. I cut all ties with Joanna. A week later, I got a strange call. "Jeremy, where are you?" I went to your place, and your landlord said you moved. Out, please. ... I know I was wrong. Forgive me. I was deceived by Charles. That's why I did all those things. Her voice was trembling with regret. You've got the wrong number, I said coldly, then hung up and blocked all unknown calls. I had no intention of giving Joanna another chance to disgust me after transferring to the branch office. I started working long nights. One night, past midnight, I was walking home when a car suddenly sped toward me, aiming straight for my body. In that split second, I froze. I was too stunned to move. Just before it could hit me, someone grabbed me from behind and yanked me out of the way. The car didn't even slow down. It sped off into the dark. The stranger who saved me insisted on coming with me to the police station to give a statement. When my parents found out, they were shaken. After that, they insisted on driving me to and from work every single day. Less than a week later, the police caught the driver. It was Charles. He hated me. Hated that I had exposed him. Hated that he'd lost everything: his future, his career, his reputation. And now he was facing criminal charges for theft and attempted extortion. And apparently, attempted murder too. As for Joanna, I honestly didn't know what had gotten into her. Every day she tried to reach me saying she only ever loved me, that Charles meant nothing to her. But by then, it was all just noise. After losing everything, Charles had spiraled into madness, determined to drag me down with him. Hearing that, I felt a twinge of pity. Greed really does ruin people. But their mess wasn't my responsibility anymore. 6 months later, my mom tricked me into going on a blind date. I wasn't expecting anything serious, but when I showed up, I was stunned. It was her, the girl who had saved my life that night. Her name was Rebecca. I found out she was the girlfriend of one of my mom's friends and worked as a taekwondo instructor. Rebecca was bright, full of energy, and incredibly easy to talk to. Being around her felt natural like breathing. On our second meeting, out of nowhere, she asked me, "Jeremy, can I be your girlfriend?" I panicked. I literally ran away. But she wasn't the kind of girl to give up. Easily she chased me, laughing the whole way. A year later, she stood outside my parents' house, nervously clutching bags of fruit and gifts. She looked up at me and asked for the 10th time if she had brought enough, if her outfit was okay, if she looked respectful enough to meet them. I smiled and said, "You saved my life, Rebecca. Even if you showed up empty-handed, they'd still like you." But she looked back at me serious this time. "Jeremy, that's different. Meeting your parents isn't something you take lightly." I couldn't help but laugh softly. For the first time in a long while, I felt peace, felt loved. My happiness had finally come home.